Okay, so okay, so
There's a bad feedback. Everybody just mute their mic. There's a bad feedback. Everybody just mute
It's certainly not. It's certainly not from me. It's certainly not. Certainly not from me.
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
I think it's coming from. I think the noise is coming from. Okay, it's better now. It's back again.
that the information technology actually brought to people's homes. You find people sitting on their own, going through using IT. They don't want to leave their house. They don't want to engage with people. They rather talk to people on the computer. They don't want to have physical contact with people. It's actually changed the way the world works and the way people think. And of course, you have a lot of people at the back end because will I say they are faceless. They don't. They have a way of criminalizing, shall I say, the system. If you go on to the next slide, I'll be able to actually break down to you further on how we've been able to mitigate this for the future. Now, in the future, based on all the backlogs from the challenges we've been able to gather, you have what we call quantum computing. Quantum computing, basically, it's a potential to revolutionize the computing power and solve complex problems. Yes, I mean, complex problems normally, which the old computers have had, the new computers, I mean, it's seamless because you can actually tell a computer do A, B, C, D, E, and it will do exactly that to the letter. And of course, with the Internet of Things, a lot of things, your appliances, your cars, your phones, your devices, billions of devices can be interconnected. We can actually share information. You can send money from one device to another device, and you know that $1 or $1 or a pound will not be missing from your system. Right, I'm getting some feedback there, but I'll move on. We'll talk about 5G networks. 5G networks have been able to allow us to communicate in a much more broader, seamless way. You can actually do a video, you can do a virtual reality, you can literally immerse yourself in a meeting and you're not actually there physically. If you move on to the next slide, I'll be able to break down to you guys further. Now we'll talk about ethical consideration in IT. I'll start by talking about data privacy. As a digital system collects and stored vast amount of personal data, concerns about privacy and data protection is paramount. Safeguarding, and I'll say it again, safeguarding data and ensuring transparency and accountability are very crucial. This is why we have data security and cybersecurity. Due to the increased cyber attacks, organizations and individuals face ethical responsibility to secure sensitive data. Of course, failure to implement this has led to data breaches, exposing individuals in financial fraud. So now with the AI system, we'll talk about the AI bias and of course, fairness. It allows a system to make a decision for us. So whatever you program in a computer, that's what it gives back. So I think for most people, the future is scary, I would say, because if, say, somebody that has bad intentions decides to program a machine to, say, maybe drive over animals or cut all the trees in the rainforest, the machine is going to do exactly that. So we need to be able to manage and control, of course, data in the IT sector. And of course, this has led to explosion and made everything fair for everybody to understand and work and have a guided view of how things should be. If you move on to the next slide, I'll just wrap up with the conclusion about the opportunities and the risks. The digital technology offers tremendous opportunities for innovation and growth, but also poses significant risk to privacy, security, and social cohesion. On the global impact, the digital technology is transforming societies and economies around the world, creating new challenges and opportunities for us all. The journey obviously continues. The digital world constantly is evolving, and we must continue to adapt and innovate and keep up with the pace of change. Yes. So with with what I've actually put out today, I've been able to give you an overview of how important the digital technology journey has actually shaped our lives and why we should actually embrace it. It drives innovation and, of course, enhances communication and, of course, definitely shaping our digital future. Thank you very much for listening in. And if you have any questions or anything you want me to clarify, please go ahead. The floor is yours. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I can. And I think my screen, I can see. I think I can actually share my screen at this point. Yeah, but please let me try to share first. Let me see if I can share because I think I can see the window now. I can see the tab now where I can share from my end. Exactly.
Yes. Right, right. Well, I was giving the analogy whereby if somebody programs it another way to do something it shouldn't do, so it basically it needs to be guided. That's why we need to protect it. That's why we have hackers, right? Hackers, you program this to do XYZ. Hackers will add ABC. So yes, we need to be able to guide that as well. Thank you for that.
I think you have to share on my behalf. I tried to share, it just didn't work. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Here's the PowerPoint. Okay, that's fine. Yes, I can see your screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, so good evening, friends and colleagues, whether I would like it or not, we're still colleagues anyway. Okay, so my name is Victor. I head digital acquiring in Fidelity Bank. I also consult for a fintech company. So this evening I was speaking to us on the topic how to effectively communicate technical concept to non-technical individuals. Next slide, please. This is not showing very well. Sorry, one second. Let me try and see if I can show. Please, can you see my screen? I'm trying to share it from my end, so it's better.
Yes, yes, I can see your screen.
Better now.
Yeah, it's better now. So, all right. So, basically, I think first of all, you need to understand what technology is about. So, and how it is to someone that is a technology savvy and to a layman as well. So, if for a technology savvy individual, technology, is about information technology, is about communication, is about robotic, and being able to achieve specific tasks electronically. Then for a common man on the street, they see technology as a car, as a television, as a phone, anything that is being powered electronically. That's how a layman sees technology. So I'm assuming I carry my remote and I want to, select the channels and all of that. Any layman does not understand that there's a configuration back end that allows that things to work technically. What they see is the end point, the finished goods, and they see that as technology. So in essence, their definition of technology is the fact that they're able to achieve certain things, electronically without having to go the manual way. Going to the next slide. So the objective of this session is basically to explore strategies that can bridge the gap, in conveying important this technical information. I would like to share an example. Please confirm you can hear me, because I'm actually seeing my screen and not.
We can hear you. We can hear you.
All right.
Yes.
So yes. So typically, in essence, let's assume I work in an organization. Assume maybe I work in a bank, and I have a boss that is not technically savvy, that is not up to speed. And my boss has asked me, Victor, let's implement an app. And he expected me to come up with a cost of that app. And I just threw it at him that, okay, first of all, that we need to, do some kind of research. The next thing, maybe get a dev up. I can mention that we need to do backlog requirements. I can mention that we need to work with a QA. I can mention that we need to work with a BA, and all our stakeholders. Then eventually I now threw a cost at him. Let's say 500 million. This is what it would take to do all of that. So what I've just said to him is basically like me speaking in tongues, because he doesn't understand that language. What he understands is the fact that I need to take him through the process flow, through what and what that I need to do to achieve, to break down that cost. So in essence, let's look at a chef. For instance, that's what just come to my head. Let's look at a chef. A chef is someone that makes food and definitely will come up with a bill. So before a chef makes food, first of all, you need to come up with a list. Then after aligning the list, it needs to go to the market to buy those things. After buying, transport his or herself, comes back. After coming back, you need to prepare the food. After preparing food, you need to present it. Then before the food is ready to be served. So it's the similar model that you need to use to explain what is required for you to be able to achieve or get to a particular cost of 500 million that you told your boss, so that both yourself and your boss can be on the same page on what you need to achieve. That's basically the objective we want to achieve today in terms of communicating technical aspect to a non-technical persons. So next slide. I try to define communication here and the types. The reason is because technology today leverages all types of communication. I'm sure we know that. So first is a verbal, the second is a non-verbal, and I think the next one is written, and the last one is visual. So all of these communication types are what, technology leverages to transmit information and all of that. As we progress, I will explain to us how we can leverage verbal communications and the rest of them to, to pass information to a non-technical savvy individuals. So this is a verbal communication. For the context of this presentation, this is not really about me explaining what communication or types of communication. I'm leveraging it to be able to explain, because I know I'm explaining to a layman on the street. I'm explaining to an Okada guy on the street. I'm trying to explain to a market woman what technology is about, the technical process we use to achieving things. So here is a combination of both verbal and non-verbal technology. So basically, looking at the first picture there, there's a man that is putting his head down. So apparently he's passing a message. And what's the message? The message there is that the customer, that particular man is tired or is thinking about something. There's a particular that is losing concentration, losing thought, and all of that. So in different model, and that's what kind of communication is that. So that's non-verbal communication, meaning that with this action, you're able to determine, okay, this is what is going on. You can guess. It may not be totally correct, but you can guess to know, okay, this is what is going on. The same thing with the thumbs up. You can see the other stuff there at the bottom. Thumbs up. Sometimes when you're doing a transaction, some banks at the end of the day, instead of saying thank you or whatever, at the end of the day, you just see a thumbs up. So a thumbs up is also passing a message that, okay, well done, this is okay, and all of that. Then there's also a lady down there waving her hands. Those are all non-verbal communication. So for verbal communication, there's a man, there are two men on the picture, the left-hand side of the picture, sitting down and having a conversation. So that's a verbal communication, because they are talking to each other. They are coming up, they are discussing what's next and what's important and how to project a particular function or whatever it is. That's a verbal communication. And this is what technology leverages today. So you can also see a conference here, which is similar to what we're having now. So this is a verbal communication. It's actually a verbal communication because we are talking to each other, even though it's virtually, but it's actually a verbal concept. But do not forget that the technology that is being leveraged here to achieve this verbal arrangement, back end, there's a code, there are some wordings and all of that, but we're able to interpret it here in this conference, seeing us having a meeting. So this is the layman understanding that, okay, with this technology, we can use it to achieve this meeting. The same thing with emojis. You can see the emojis, all of them here. So some of us on our WhatsApp, when we chat, someone is smiling, someone is angry, sad, mood, and all of that, all the features and all of that. So basically, what the layman understands is that if I go to the one that has red, the person is angry. Whatever the technical person has done back end is none of his business. What his business is I've seen a picture that tells me, okay, this person is smiling. So he sends emoji, and that's the understanding. So that's basically how technology is leveraged for verbal and non-verbal communication. So now, this is written communication. So I give an example. When you do a transaction, a banking transaction today, what you see is successful. You get email message, or you also get a text message, and whereas back end, what we see is 00. So let's even assume that Israel went to his bank app to do a transaction, at the end of the day, his account is debited, then the bank now sends a text message or email saying 00. Would Israel understand what 00 means? So that's why what should be presented to the customer is a written communication explaining what 00 is. All right, which sometimes you say that your transaction was successful. The debit of 5,000 naira to Mr. X was successful. The debit to so was successful. So the same thing with these other acronyms that we use today. For your information, as soon as possible. I can't be talking to a novice and I'm using the word FYI. Someone on the screen and I say ASAP. The person won't understand. So that's why you need to break it down for them to understand what you're talking about, so that they can align with your, with your statement or whatever information you're trying to pass. The same thing with other samples, CPU, RAM is there, and all of that. So you don't use all of these languages when you're talking to someone that does not understand technology. The picture down here also shows the types of written communication. You can see a letter, you can see email, you can see text message, and all those are all written communication. What you do on your bank app today is a written communication, because you log into your bank app, there's an information that tells you, put in your password, you have to type, and all of that. Before now, it was both verbal and written communication, meaning that you have to walk into a banking hall and there must be a conversation between the withdrawer and the teller, or between the customer and the teller, whoever that is withdrawing money. So there must be a conversation. That's a verbal communication. But at the end of the day, you'll still have to put it in writing that I want to withdraw XX amount and pass the slip and all of that. But at the moment, I think we're exploring more of written communication, whether you're using your bank app or you're using your ATM, whatever it is, most of the time there is written communication. So next, but not the least, is visual communication. So visual communication, I think this is the best for me in terms of communicating technicalities of technology to someone who is unaware of what technology is all about. So typically I've used, you can see a stop go sign. Sometimes you see a security man holding this manually, maybe on the highway. That is, it's time for you to stop, you stop. It's time for you to go, you go. That's manual, by the way. So let's assume it's via technology, where we have what do you call it? Traffic lights. Where we have traffic lights. For traffic to show green, which tells you go, there's a technology behind it. There's a code behind it. There's a configuration behind it for that to happen. So it's the same thing with our car on. It's the same thing with fire alarm and all of that. I think car on and fire alarm falls under oral communication, because those are sounds and noise and all of that. So that's what I'm trying to say, in a sense, is for you to be able to communicate effectively to someone. On this context, I'm believing that I'm talking to people that have not even come across what technology is about. They don't understand the word configuration. They don't understand the word end-to-end integration and all of that. All they know is the final product is what they are aware of. So for you to be able to communicate to them effectively, that's why you see that banks sometimes you see their logo, you see their brand and all of that. What does that tell you? Once you see FCMB song, we know that this FMCB bank, whether that signage is powered by digitally or is manual and all of that, but it's something that has been able to communicate to whoever that, okay, this is FCMB, this is a Fidelity Bank and all of that. The next thing, then also video. So you can also watch videos and all of that to see how certain things are done. And then another sample again are the brands, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, Snapchat, and all of them. So they all falls under visual communication. And I think this is a key point to note around communicating to people that are not technology savvy. Need to understand the fact that for you to be able to explain effectively, you must tell them a story. around how things are being done, just like I explained on the earlier slide, that I'm telling my boss about a project, building an app and all of that, rather than me breaking it down for him to understand end to end what it takes for me to bring up a cost, or maybe to give a timeline that this thing will be done in 1 month, in 3 months, in 1 year. So you don't just give such, answer. You have to break it down to let them understand the reason that because during the project, when you're implementing the mobile app, you need to involve a tester. In some instances, some people even incorporate an independent tester. Like once you're done with the development, they get somebody, consult somebody outside to come and test the solution to ensure that end-to-end is protected, is encrypted, and the man in the middle, nobody can attack that solution and all of that. You also need to explain to them that there's going to be a user acceptance test, not UAT, and deliberately calling it user acceptance test because I believe I'm talking to novice. I'm talking to people that doesn't understand what I'm talking about. So you need to let the person understand all of that. I mentioned QA. You don't need to mention QA when you're talking to your boss. Let them know that QA simply means quality assurance. You don't abbreviate things. So the same thing with our regular presentation. When you're presenting anything to the public, you don't need to use abbreviation. You can put it in bracket, but you need to explain what it is for the knowledge of the listener, for the knowledge of your audience, and the rest of the individuals that are listening to it. So lastly, but not the least, these are the key takeaway for today. So for me, when you are presenting to an audience that does not understand technology, you need to eliminate jargons. I'm sure we all understand what I mean by jargon. That's for the context of guys that are here, and the technical terms like config. What's config? Config is simply configuration. Like the 00 I mentioned, which is successful. There are other parameters for failed, for pending, and all of that. But what is being displayed to a common man out there is showing that that transaction failed. However, there's a terminology we use technically to allow that to happen. Tell a story, like a story I told about Chef. You need to tell a story how this is happening, what the process is about. Okay, let's assume your boss requested for maybe an end-to-end flow of a transaction, how it's supposed to happen. So instead of you to put it to your boss, say, okay, I want to look at it in the technical terms. They say DR 10,000, CR 10,000, something like that. So what have you said? Whoever is not technically sound may not understand what I just said. So what I'm trying to say in essence is, for the transaction flow to happen, you debit a customer and you credit somewhere. So that's what I'm trying to say. So you need to put that into, a full understanding of your boss, so that you could have a better understanding of what you're talking about. Utilize visual aids. I don't need to talk about this. This is on the last slide that I just spoke about. Provide practical demonstration. So yeah, that still speaks to the last comment I made. Then encourage question and answer, which I believe we're going to have after this session. Then repeat and summarize key points. So if you know that there are some key points that you made mention that you need to summarize, that you need to repeat for them to understand, just like this key takeaway is really, really important, because when you're talking to an audience that doesn't understand the subject, that doesn't understand the product, so you need to follow this key takeaway in your presentation. Then check for understanding. Yeah, that still goes the same. But then tailor explanation to the key audience. So assuming I was meant to present with my technical background and all of that, this is not even the slide I will use, but because of the subject that I'm talking about today, I'm talking to people. So I believe I'm talking to people that does not understand technology, or does not understand the language of technology or technical languages. So that's why I'm presenting it this way. So assuming I was talking to technology savvy audience, it would have been a different thing entirely. So being a different thing entirely simply means I would have been able to define what technology is in the technical terms, the process flow, the requirements gathering, who is expected to test, and all of that. I wouldn't have to start showing pictures of who this person is, what needs to be done, and all of that. So you need to tailor your explanation based on the audience that you're expecting. All right. Then create engaging and interactive experiences. Simply means, unfortunately, this forum may not give us the opportunity to, to have some kind of interactive experience where sometimes someone will stop you and ask you a question, and the person will contribute that instead of X, it can actually be this, because typically this is Victor presenting. So some of the things I'm saying here might actually be my opinion. So it's also expected that my audience should be able to contribute. And I think that's the end of my presentation for now. So any question? Thank you. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome.
No, not at all, sir. Not at all. It's well understood. Thank you.
That was just clear. So it touched the right points, and I think he did justice to that presentation.
Okay. Yes, yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Victor, for the section. Yeah, I gained a lot, especially when it comes to how to communicate effectively with stakeholders, because that's where issues come up sometimes. You know, trying to say something and some other person understanding it some other way, or maybe trying to translate business rules and requirements, and the person that is trying to communicate it and the person trying to translate it to functional code are two words apart. So it's very, very important that we leave the jargons, we leave the whole big language, and then get down low to that level where we speak directly to ourselves in the simplest term. So yeah, thanks a lot for that. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thanks a lot. Thank you too.